Ebenezer, Nana Kwame, George, how are you doing?
COVID has affected my life in so many ways. I used to be on the go all the time, in meetings, we come home, we attend to house chores and then off to the next meeting.
So we've had to be extra cautious. We've had to pull the kids out of school for the remainder of the year, etc. So there's been a little disruption, but again, every cloud has a silver lining.
Personally, I've been really affected because whatever kind of money that is needed, be it small or big, has to go into feeding and housekeeping and other things without any other kind of money coming in.
If you like what we're doing on this channel, please like our video, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. George, okay. you had a comeback on one of the points.
So what I was saying was that the mechanics also make a great deal of money once you go in for the right cars. Here in Ghana, you can bet on the Toyota cars. Those are in abundance here, and because they're in abundance, people are using it for taxis, private and stuff. They always go to their shops, so they are making lots of money. Now they have also employed technology, so they do what we call the OBD, the onboard diagnostic tech. So they have a kit which they use to check the faults of the cars. And they charge quite a substantial amount of money for doing that. And those who are well versed in it also go further to actually use that same kit to rectify certain faults on the cars. So they make money. When you go to the plumbing, the electrician, and the carpentry side, no. We have them in abundance, but it doesn't pay. So people are not actually interested. I've seen a couple of people go onto Facebook and online sales shops and then advertise themselves as, auto electrician or air conditioning mechanic or whatever it is. Air conditioning electrician, I beg your pardon. Yes. Looking for jobs. But you hardly see carpenters. All they do is probably they can manufacture some beds or some chairs and then take some pictures and put it online for sale. That's the best they do. But to go into it as a trade and think you're going to make some money out of it, unless you get government contracts,
right?
Then you can make some money.
So you see, this is partly the problem. All the things you've highlighted are in the almost the maintenance field. You're talking of plumbers in the view and the sense of when your drain is probably blocked. You're speaking of electricians as if like we tend to use them typically in Ghana, right? Your fuse is gone, so you go for electrician. No, I'm talking about applying the trade to solving problems, to coming up with idea. I mean, renewable energy. Anybody? What are the electricians doing? You can use wood and metal to craft all manner of stuff. Useful, functional tools, as well as aesthetically pleasing, I guess, objects like furniture and stuff like that. And this is the mindset I'm trying to challenge, which is when Africans talk about engineering and applying a trade, it's almost always in the vein that you just described. And for me, it's disappointing. There's a whole wealth of application of those skills beyond just using it for maintenance. And Africans need to get beyond that. Otherwise, we're going nowhere fast. Ebenezer and Nana Kwame, do you want to come back on this?
So I'll touch on that. I think it's true. So a caveat to that is it's also the size of your market, right? So if you have a set of skills or product that you want to take to market, it really also boils down to how big that market is. So there's so much that we need to do at an individual level, at a citizen level, and then there's so much more that our governments need to do at a macro level in terms of creating an enabling environment for commerce to really flourish. So again, back to the point I was making, and again, when you talk about these things, it almost sounds like a pipe dream, although it shouldn't. So if you take, Canada has this issue where a lot of Canadian businesses move to the US because there's a bigger market. You've got more people to sell to. It's just basic economics. So this thing of us not being able to, I think people don't realize that there would be an entirely new era of wealth if we had a united Africa, for instance. If you take China, for instance, 1.4, almost 1.5 billion people, India 1.3, Africa also 1.3. But those former countries have one government, one president, one cabinet for 1.3 billion people, 1.5 billion people. But for Africa, 1.3 billion people, 50-something presidents, 50-something cabinets. So that's the issue. So if you take Germany, the German model that you mentioned, if you look at the top luxury cars, Mercedes-Benz, Audi, BMW, take Volkswagen, Porsche, all these manufacturing companies, but who are they selling to? They're not selling in Germany only. They're selling to the entire world. So when you open up the your market to that level, you really then be able to sell to the entire world and bring money back into your country that feeds your fiscus, that then has all kinds of spin-offs. Take a country like Japan, a small island like Japan. You can think of Toyota, Nissan, Kawasaki. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, it's unbelievable. But if you look at a continent as big as Africa, which one car brand do we manufacture, for instance? I know Ghana has one, so we're taking the strides in the right direction. So I think if we had, for instance, our own continent as a market, where we were deliberate, and sometimes you have to take steps you have to take knocks in the early stages. So we say, for instance, somebody mentioned about I think George mentioned about Toyota being a good brand in Ghana. The whole continent, Toyota is everywhere. Taxis, almost every taxi anywhere you find on the continent is Toyota. Why don't Africans decide we're going to make an African Toyota minibus, and by force, every single government must buy this brand, and that goes right throughout Africa. And just imagine the manufacturing plants that would show up all over the continent, the jobs that would be created. I mean, all kinds of spin-offs, man. So, yeah, I'm happy with the talk.
You see, it's interesting. You mentioned an island as small as Japan. You mentioned Germany. But when you talk about Africa, you talk about the continent. Why are you not talking about Ghana doing what Japan is doing? Or South Africa on its own, doing what Germany is doing? You see, this is my challenge to when people say, oh, it's a governmental continent level. You and you started a business. You, by all accounts, it looks like you're doing very well, right? It's a mindset thing. We don't necessarily have to have a United States of Africa and have things centralized in Ethiopia for us to be able to figure out that actually, if we apply our engineering skills and we start making our local cars, that actually we could also export that potentially to Europe. This is the problem for me. I'll come to you, Nana Kwame. What's your challenge on that?
Yes, now I echo your sentiments. I think when it comes to Africa, what I would say is I believe we should look at the country level, because if you start from the cell level, then you build to the organ. But we tend to look at it the other way around, or Africa. But if each country does its bit, and we formulate regulations about trade, I believe that Ghana will prefers to trade with Germany or the US because of favorable trade deals. Why can't we make favorable trade deals with our fellow African countries? So I believe that we need to change our perspective, and we need to change our focus, and we need to start from our villages to our cities, to our towns. It just needs a complete mindset shift for us to be able to get to the levels of the Germanys and the UKs and the US. And I absolutely agree with the sentiments you've raised.
Okay, so at least I'll go one person who's siding with me.
I'm going to come back for you, though. Let's wait for George.
Okay, cool. So I think this leads me neatly onto our closing question to the topic, which is, when a lot of people, particularly in Sub-Saharan Africa, talk about business, and I'm not speaking for those who have nothing, right? Who go to the market to trade and they do very small scale, micro business. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the likes of you and I, or sometimes maybe even financially more affluent. When we talk about business and starting a new enterprise, I'll say 8 times out of 10, it's, if only I had $1 million capital, I can set this up and I can do this and I can do that. We never bring it down to the level where, we're investing, let's say $5,000 to kickstart something that will grow into, an Amazon. Jeff Bezos started his Amazon business selling books from his garage. But a typical African, Ghanaian wouldn't think that way. I spoke to this guy recently who said, I trying to find investors. I'm trying to build an e-commerce platform. I'm like, okay, how much do you need? He's talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, dude, your focus is in the wrong place. So I guess my question is, how do you suggest that we rally together and support each other to kickstart some of these industries? Because clearly a few individuals, there are always exceptions to the rule. A few individuals are doing well, but the masses are struggling to gain traction. So what would be your suggestion on what we have to do to come together to start some of these enterprises that will grow to become multi-billion-dollar companies? I'll start with you, Nana Kwame.
I believe that in the African context, it begins with a mindset shift, a complete mindset shift and change. You see, if you are disciplined in your perspective, you'll be successful in your outcome. We have a very wrong perspective on things, as you rightly pointed out. We've got an idea and we just want somebody to loan us some big money to be able to start it. But you see, if you go back to the Bible, the master gave one 10 talents, another 5, and the other 1. He actually gifted them or gave them those talents at the level of their giftings. So he was expecting them to operate and to maximize their gifts on their level. So I'm bringing this perspective to just say this. For example, you are a mechanic, okay? Maybe you might not be able to come up with the Mercedes-Benz or whatever, but you look for opportunities at your level and you begin to build it from there. And also you increase your capacity to learn, because until you increase your knowledge in your field of expertise, you're actually limiting yourself. Let's take, for example, gone were the days when our parents could take their cars to mechanics who could open the engine and just work on it. But now the Germans have perfected their skills so that a mechanic of today won't know what is. It's like they basically shut you out. So you need to actually improve your skills, your knowledge base. You need some education. You need to read widely. You need to read broadly. And I believe that if we change our mindset, we will begin to make progress in changing our countries and our continent to be able to be a global player. So that is one thing that I would say. The other thing is, it's quite shocking. I was in Amsterdam in January, and after that long flight, when we're coming back, it was during the day, and I could see the whole landscape of Africa, vast land, empty, full of potential. I was actually upset because I could see that. I could see very old ladies, 60 years, riding their bicycles, but Africa, everyone wants to drive a car. Everyone wants to, look big. And I was just thinking about the mindset is completely wrong. The point is that Africa is gifted. Africa is endowed with all the mineral resources you can ever think of in the world. We go to conferences and we talk about we being cheated out. Who is cheating who? You have to, you said you want to form your own government, but you go and negotiate deals that put you in a disadvantaged position. You have to now come to the table and trying to take things like cocoa, for example, from Ghana and Ivory Coast. Just these two countries, we produce like more than 70% of cocoa in the world. What excuse do you have to complain that you are being cheated when you've got the monopoly in the market? So I believe that that mindset shift has to be radical, and it has to be fast if we are to catch up with the rest of the world. And I believe that we have no excuse to say that we've been cheated. We should go in with our own terms and conditions and negotiate tough. And also, the last thing I want to say is the only thing I would say that will bolster our stance is that you cannot have a Togo or a Benin negotiating with China. I mean, China is too big. Benin has no power. So in this case, this African Free Trade Continental Agreement, which they signed in Rwanda in 2018, should be a platform. I understand the Secretariat is in Ghana. Should be a platform where we can use as a common front to be able to negotiate with these blocks. And maybe the last thing I want to say is it's quite pathetic to basically hear that you've got China-Africa conference, China-Russia conference, China-UK conference, and all African states travel to these countries. You've got about 54 states in Africa. Why don't they come here? I believe it's time for us to start to believe ourselves and to believe that, look, we've got majority of the states here. Let's bring the people here. Instead of just having that luxury, we want to travel to China, travel there. We should take pride in what we have, and we'll make something better of ourselves and our continent.
I'll come to you, George. The question is, what would it take for us to come together to establish enterprises? And I mean building companies from the ground up. What's holding us back? Is it greed, selfishness, envy, gluttony? What do you think? What are your views?
Yeah, Ebenezer and Nana Kwame have said a lot, and it leaves little for me to say to add to this anyway. But see, the African mentality is that I need to go fast, so I will go alone. Some other mentality is we need to go far, so we'll have to go together. The Ghanaian always wants to be a one-man show. And I know this for a fact because of the airline, the last but two airline I worked with in Ghana. He wants a one-man show. He wants to be seen as the capo di capo, okay? So he will not involve anybody. Look, if we want to go far in business in Ghana, I want to do some business, I have to look for like-minded people. I have to look for certain skill sets, okay? Then we have to have our business model, do our market research, and then move on. We do it in bite sizes, okay? If we want to build something like Amazon, we need to start from somewhere. Somebody has started OLX online shopping. Somebody has started Tonaton. They are all one-man shows. So they are at where they are. Tonaton started by about 10 years ago, but they are still at the same level. People hardly go there to advertise. OLX has also started, now it's been turned to Gigi, another one-man show, a Nigerian man. Okay, he's bought other online platforms in other countries. He's a one-man show, he's still there. Assuming he has like-minded people with some skill sets and have a good business model, which is in bite sizes, yes, they will go far. But African mentality will not allow us to do that. No way. We always want to do the one-man show, ride in the luxurious cars, and then we'll be seen, as a top-notch person in the country. That's our problem. Basically, our problem.
So let me ask you this question. Are you saying that you're completely open to having a fully collaborative enterprise with other people in whatever form or shape that takes?
Oh, yes. We're like-minded. I have the skill sets that we need. He has the skill sets that we need. Yes, we can go far. Because once we go together, we'll go far. But you go alone, you can go fast, but you will not go far. All the airlines one-man show in Ghana have collapsed. Amtrak is gone. Starboat is gone. City Link is gone. They're all one-man shows. They're all gone. But Africa World is in collaboration with some Chinese. So they are surviving. Okay, there's another one, Passion Air. Yes, he's also in collaboration with some Kenyans and some Canadians. He's surviving. So on the ground, this is what is happening.
Okay.
So once you bring up an idea, we can collaborate and we can move on.
Okay. So, I mean, I absolutely agree with what you're saying. My concern is you've mentioned partnerships with the Chinese and the Canadians.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This is something that I think my views were clear that it pains me when I see that, because we're never going to be on the level of the people we are partnering with if we don't take things to a whole new level, right? In fact, if I were president, I'll never be, but if I were, I'll ban all car imports into the country. If you want to drive a Mercedes, get together and make one. I mean, it sounds radical, but I will consider policies in that kind of vein to force people to say, look, I mean, okay, let me make it real. When the COVID situation hit here in the UK, the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, he said to the engineering firms in the UK, we're short of breathing machines. We can't get them from China. You guys need to make them or people will die. Suddenly we had Formula One teams making breathing machines. We had car manufacturers able to make breathing machines, all within a matter of about 3 to 4 weeks. They had fully certified, fully functional. I mean, it'd gone through all the regulatory hurdles and had passed for use as breathing equipment in hospitals, which shows that the capacity and the ability was always there. I believe the same capacity, ingenuity, and ability is there in Africa and in sub-Saharan Africa. But that needs must. Nobody has mandated it, so we're not bothering. I'll come to you, Ebenezer, for the final word on this. How do we get together to start these enterprises, to build our journey towards independence and self-sufficiency?
Yeah, so I think the gentlemen have touched on sort of what you can do, what we can do as individuals and as people on the ground, you know. Yeah, I think it just needs a certain level of ingenuity, a certain level of commitment, understanding that it's a lot of things, really. Understanding that business takes time, it takes collaboration, it takes vision, it takes perseverance. Sometimes people give up on their businesses, and don't wait out the full maturation process. But I think that's been touched on. So again, I'll go back to the micro level, right? So we need to understand that here we are, 2020, in this global environment, and as countries we're all competing, but we have different histories, different pasts, right? So in this competing, look at it as like a wrestling matches, and everybody gets their turn. Two countries jump in and they have to fight. But most of our African countries, we are anorexic, little kids jumping into the ring with these well-trained, well-buffed, well-muscled, big countries that have been developing a lot longer than we have. While we were going through the things that we went through on the continent, these guys were manufacturing. They were moving from one industrial revolution to the next, from one revolution to the next. And so we're somewhat left behind. And I think it really, as much as we need to push at an individual level in terms of working together, finding the resources to be able to do what we need to do. I'm going to focus on what governments need to be doing, and for me, that's really where I think things really need to be hit. So, if you look, I mean, there's so many examples that you can. Even the example we made earlier on Japan and Germany, those governments were heavily involved. There was a time where they were where we are now, but those governments were heavily involved with funding and creating an environment, the enabling environment to be able to create enterprises and take them to where they need to be. So I don't want to sound like I'm not focusing on the. I think if we're all saying the same thing, it'll be one thing. So I'm going to focus on that side, and I'm a big advocate for them. I think that's where we really need to find ourselves. A great book to read is the Memoirs of Lee Kuan Yew. So you take Singapore, which was at a point on par with us, with Ghana. When I say us, I mean Ghana, on par. And for some reason, they shot ahead and we didn't. And we cannot say that's because the individuals on the ground didn't collaborate or the individuals on the ground didn't know how to start businesses. No, it was a visionary leadership that created, looked at what they had and looked at how to make themselves relevant on a global level, and being able to carry that vision over a protracted period in realizing wealth for their people. So I really believe that more than anything, fair enough, we on the ground need to do what we need to do, but our governments need to be more visionary. So when you find yourself, you find yourself in a room with a bunch of other anorexic people, maybe you anorexic people bunching up together might have a fighting chance against one of these big giants. And that's really what it boils down to, in my opinion.
Right, okay. So macroeconomics is definitely your thing. I get that now.